Hello friends, my wife informed me tonight that there are some questions floating around our local homeschool community regarding how elementary school students should handle Latin in addition to the co-op curriculum that we are using. And so I thought that I would put together a little video shot at the spur of the moment on a Friday night after a week of work with some thoughts. So excuse the production value, and I hope it's helpful. For the elementary school student, especially one studying in the classical method, the key to a successful elementary school Latin program is going to be, of course, memorization. The question is, what are you going to be memorizing? And how should you handle the process of memorization? There will be time enough for translation and even composition maybe, and literature, junior high, high school. But from grades 1 through 6, how do we go about memorizing what we should memorize? And really, it's not hard. So for all of you that are intimidated by Latin, that you're worried that you're not up to the task, let me assure you, it's really not as difficult as you think that it is. What you need to focus on for the 6 years that your kids are in elementary school Latin is lots and lots and lots of oral practice with your forms and your vocabulary. You're going to spend 6 years memorizing forms and vocabulary, and almost all of your practice needs to be oral. And you'll drill with them together orally. Later on they can drill by themselves. Siblings can drill one another. You don't need lots of fancy workbooks and worksheets and pencil work and grading. Just oral practice. And I'll show you what I mean and how it works. With Latin, of course, we have our various forms, our various noun declensions and our verb conjugations. For example, we have first declension nouns with their endings. If you use our co-op, they have a song, and that you recite the endings over and over again in the song. And it's I, and then the plural is I, is, as, is. And with second declension, they have a song, that's fourth declension song. I don't really know all the songs. But the fourth declension song is ui, ui, singular fourth declension. And they sing the endings over and over again. I actually have pretty strong feelings that that is not super helpful for the kids. They get to 7th grade after having done that for 6 years, and they can sing a song that has the endings or the declensions in it, and literally this is Latin that they will learn in the first 5 minutes of their 7th grade class if they're taking Henley Latin or something that's a little more advanced. So we need to give them something that's going to be a strong foundation for them to build on, that is going to take advantage of these 6 years that they have to memorize. And we need to give them a lot to memorize and something substantial. So the first thing to build your oral practice on, and that's all this is going to be for 6 years, is mostly oral practice, is to not just recite the endings with your forms, but to actually recite a paradigm verb or a paradigm noun, a model verb or model noun. This has been the practice since forever. And so what will happen is you will have a noun, like in this case I have a card with the second declension masculine noun, annus, anni, which means year. And instead of saying us, e, o, singular, second declension, I will instead recite my noun with the ending attached to it. So instead of us, e, o, I will say annus, anni, anno. And us, e, o becomes annus, anni, anno, annum, anno. And I can do this in singular and plural. Annus, anni, anno, annum, anno, and then vocative anne. Plural, anni, annorum, annis, annos, annis, and then vocative again, anni. So you have a paradigm or a model noun, or if you're studying verb endings, model verb, and you say the whole verb or the whole noun. So I don't just say o, ust, mus, tis, unt. If I'm learning a verb, I say laudo, laudas, laudat, laudamus, laudatis, laudant. That's how I'm going to study my endings. I'm going to study them attached to nouns and verbs. But then, right, so this is where you get the confluence of your vocab and your forms. And those are the two things that you need to memorize. The vocabs and the forms are the two things that will kill them in junior high if they're starting from scratch, or high school, walking into a Latin program, having 20 vocab words a week, plus forms. You know, in a month they've got 80 to 100 vocab words that they have to have memorized. They've never seen them before. Plus they've got, you know, 3 or 4 noun declensions, and it's just overwhelming. I don't have time to focus on like the grammar and fitting the words together in meaningful ways because I'm snowed under by the fact that I have yet another vocabulary quiz this week with 20 new words. How great it is if I've got half of those words memorized by the time I hit 6th grade. That takes so much of the work off. I can focus on the translation, I can focus on the grammatical concepts and the syntax, and my life is much, much easier because I've done this memorization. So the confluence of vocab and forms happens with my vocab cards. And I'm a big fan of these big boxes of vocab cards, right? I have Chinese, I have Latin, I have New Testament Greek, I have German, and I promise you I don't really know most of the vocab words for these, but who doesn't want boxes of vocab cards, right? How cool is this? I've got 1,000 German words here that I can just open the box and say things like, you know, Schweinhund or something. So Chinese, Greek, and then Latin. So you've got all of these cards, and what I would do is I would pull out cards by the category that they fit in, the grammatical category. So this particular card is a second declension masculine noun, and I would have a whole stack of second declension masculine nouns, and I would go through that stack orally at first, and I wouldn't even worry about what the noun meant. I wouldn't be trying to memorize the noun necessarily. I would just be learning my endings with this oral practice. Annus, anni, anno, annum, anno, anni, annorum, annis, annos, annis. Switch it over. Animus, animi, animo, animum, animo, animi, animorum, animis, animos, animis. Switch it over. Numerus, numeri, numero, numerum, numero, numeri, numerorum, numeris, numeros, numeris. Switch it over again and do my next one, and then my next one, and then my next one. And each time I go through, I switch out the noun, but I'm using the same endings over and over again. Puer, pueri, puero, puerum, puero, pueri, puerorum, pueris, pueros, pueris. And then switch it again, and I've got my next one. And I would do that with all of my noun declensions. So I would have puella, first declension puella, 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 puellam, puella, puella, puellarum, puellis, puellas, puellis. And then anima, animae, animae, animam, anima, animae, animarum, animis, animas, animis. And then the next one, you know, there's tons. Pecunia, pecuniae, pecuniae, pecuniam, pecunia, pecuniae, pecuniarum, pecunias, pecunis, pecunias, pecunis. And have this stack of my first declension nouns. When I'm drilling my first declension endings, I just go through each one and swap out the noun and keep the same endings. And then I go to the next declension, I've got my third declension ones, and I'm saying rex, regis, regi, and I'm saying ice, iris, ivy, and I'm just going through and I'm getting that concept that these are endings that define grammatical categories of nouns. That's much more useful for the student in the long term than just saying the endings in isolation from the noun. If all I've done for 6 years is say us, e, o, o, and I haven't done that basic task of connecting the ending to a noun, I've not done half of what I need to do. I mean, a Roman never said us, e, o, o. A Roman grew up saying animus, animi, animo, in different sentences. And so I think that we should recapitulate that practice of actually saying real Latin words, because it trains our mind, it trains our tongues, it trains our eyes to expect certain things on the page. You will never see, when you're in high school doing translation, us. You will see animus. And you'll never see aurum. You will see bellorum or something. So we need to get in that habit early. So of course then this process ties in very nicely with my vocab learning. So now I have this card that says annus, ani, masculine. I've used it before just to recite the endings. So now I'm going to work on the vocab. So I say, look at, okay, so this means year. Annus, ani, year. And then maybe I'll even say, okay, annus, ani, anno, annum, anno, year. Annus, year. Annus, ani, anno, annum, anno, anni, annorum, annis, annos, annis, year. Now I go to the next one, and I pick up puer, boy, puer, pueri, puero, puerum, puerum.